Imagine waking up one morning to find out that the long-awaited $2,000 stimulus check, something millions of Americans have been hoping for, might finally be closer than ever, or slipping further away than anyone expected. And what if I told you that the real story behind this update isn't just about money, but about power, timing, and a strategy that could reshape your financial future for years? Before we dive deep, let me ask you something strange. Have you ever noticed how politicians promise money right when we're the most stressed? Kind of like how your friend promises to totally pay you back, right when they need another loan. Anyway, back to the national version of that, because today's update on Trump's $2,000 stimulus check is not just another political headline, it's a warning, a roadmap, and for some, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity if you understand what's really going on. Now here's where things get interesting. When Trump revived the conversation around a $2,000 stimulus, many people thought it was just another campaign phrase. But if you look deeper, really deeper, you start to see a pattern. Every major economic shift in the past 2 decades, from the 2008 crash to the 2020 pandemic to the inflation spike of 2022, has been influenced by one thing: the public's belief in financial security. And stimulus checks have always been the pressure point. So when Trump brings up $2,000 again, it's not random. It's calculated. But what is he calculating? Fear, support, leverage, or something even bigger? Before we analyze that, here's a quick pattern interrupt. Have you ever noticed that the moment the government gives you money, everything magically becomes more expensive? It's like your wallet says, "Finally I can breathe." And the economy says, "Oh, you thought so." All right, back in. Because the truth behind the $2,000 update starts long before the announcement. It begins in private meetings, financial forecasts, in strategy rooms where experts debate the same question you're probably asking right now. Can the US even afford this? And the honest, slightly terrifying answer is maybe, or maybe not. And that uncertainty is exactly what makes this moment so dangerous and so important for your personal financial decisions. Remember the last time stimulus checks rolled out? People made three different choices. Some spent everything instantly, some saved every penny, and some invested strategically and changed their lives. But this time, the stakes are even higher. Inflation is still hanging in the background. The job market is shifting, and government debt is climbing faster than anyone wants to admit. So when Trump speaks about a potential $2,000 payment, you're not just hearing about free money. You're hearing about a test of your awareness, your discipline, and your ability to move wisely while others move emotionally. Let's zoom out for a moment. Imagine America as a giant pressure cooker. Cost of living rising, families struggling, rent soaring, groceries quietly doubling. And in the middle of all this, talk of a $2,000 stimulus check sweeps across the country like a spark. Exciting? Yes. Necessary? Potentially. Risky? Absolutely. Because a stimulus check can be both a lifeline and a trap, depending on how you use it. And this is where Act 1 of this story starts to shift, because the real question is not whether Trump's proposal is possible. The real question is, why now? As we enter the next phase, I want you to think about something uncomfortable. What would happen if the government suddenly injected billions of dollars into an already fragile economy? A boost? A crash? A calm before the storm? Or the start of something much bigger that nobody sees coming? Here's another pattern interrupt to keep your mind awake. You ever notice that politicians only talk about giving money when the country is on the edge? Kind of like when someone gives you a gift right after doing something suspicious? Just saying. Back to the point. Trump's $2,000 check isn't just an economic conversation. It's a psychological one. Because the idea of receiving $2,000 triggers hope in some people, fear in others, and urgency in nearly everyone. And politicians know that. They rely on that. But if you want to live a wealthy lifestyle, if you want real financial freedom, you have to operate differently. You can't react the way the average person reacts. You have to think strategically. Here's a transition into something most people ignore. Whenever stimulus conversations heat up, markets react even before checks get approved. Stocks rise, crypto wakes up, real estate gets twitchy, and billionaires, yes, billionaires, start moving their money quietly, early, and decisively. Why? Because they know stimulus is more than money. It's momentum. And momentum creates opportunities, sometimes small, sometimes massive. Now here's where the cliffhanger comes in. There's a hidden part of this stimulus update that almost no one is talking about. Something buried in policy language, economic briefings, and strategic leaks. Something that could reveal whether the $2,000 check is actually coming or whether it's being used as a distraction from a much larger financial shift that's about to unfold. And trust me, you'll want to stay for that. Because if you miss it, you might miss the single biggest wealth move of the decade. Let's slow this down and dig into the mechanics. The government does not print money the way most people imagine. Instead, it borrows from investors, from foreign nations, from institutions. And every dollar the government gives out becomes another dollar of national debt that future generations, including your kids or grandkids, will feel. But here's the twist. Politicians don't feel that pressure. They make promises today that the economy has to deal with tomorrow. And stimulus checks, no matter who proposes them, always come with consequences. So why would Trump push for this? The answer is layered. Part political strategy, part economic positioning, part psychological influence. But another part, one that almost nobody discusses, is tied to upcoming policy proposals that could shift power between federal agencies, private institutions, and the financial sector. And that's where this gets complicated and fascinating. Let me ask you something unexpected. What if the real value of the $2,000 check isn't the check itself, but the timing of it? Think about that. Why introduce financial relief when the economy is unstable? Why promise money right when the public is divided? Why make bold financial moves when inflation still lingers in the shadows? Unless the intention isn't just relief, it's influence, direction, impact, and maybe, just maybe, preparation for something that the average American won't see coming until it's already here. We're going deeper now. Act 2 becomes the part of the story where things get uncomfortable, where uncertainty rises, where the truth becomes harder to digest, and where the decisions you make become even more important. Because if a $2,000 check does get approved, most Americans will rush to spend it instantly, not because they want to, but because they need to. Bills, rent, groceries, gas. But a small group, a very small group, will use it to get ahead, to invest, to build, to create financial breathing room that others won't have. And the difference between these two groups won't be luck. It will be awareness. So here's the real update you need to know. Behind closed doors, discussions are not just about, should we give $2,000? They're about what happens after. Economists are debating the ripple effects. Some say it will stabilize households, others warn it could fuel inflation again, and others believe it could be the start of a new cycle of government-driven economic manipulation. The scary part? Any of them could be right. We're now approaching the peak of the story, the moment where everything you've heard starts connecting. Trump's promise, the political timing, the economic tension, the public stress, the financial forecasts. Put them together and a new picture emerges. This stimulus update isn't a simple yes or no situation. It's the opening move in a much larger financial battle, one that will shape the next decade of American wealth and opportunity. Here's a moment of humor to reset your attention. Imagine the U.S. Treasury sweating at a desk like, "You guys want how much?" All right, focus back in, because now comes the part most people will never hear about, the part that could either protect you or blindside you, the part involving economic models, debt ceilings, interest rate projections, and governmental power plays that rarely reach the public in time. And if you stay until the end, you'll understand exactly how this fits into your financial future. As we move toward the final act, here's what you need to remember. Stimulus checks are temporary. Wealth is permanent. One gives you relief, the other gives you freedom. And the people who come out strongest in times of uncertainty are the ones who learn how to turn temporary events into long-term advantages. So whether the $2,000 check lands in your account or fades into political smoke, your financial future shouldn't depend on government decisions. It should depend on knowledge, discipline, strategy, and the ability to see beyond the surface. And now, here's the cliffhanger I promised. There is a specific event connected to Trump's financial decisions, an event involving a secret investment move he made years ago that almost triggered a crisis capable of collapsing the U.S. economy. And the shocking part? That event is directly connected to what's happening with stimulus discussions today. How? Why? What does it mean for the next decade? To fully understand that connection, you need to watch the next video.